Johnson last night, Houses Israel's top intelligence official, Travis now to discuss advancing the hostage deal. David joins me here once again on set. So good to see you again. The next time that we're talking, is key, but I'm still moving on to that end. There's several times I was named the President Joe Biden, Secretary General.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the weekly webinar, and it is with mixed feelings that I say it is our last weekly webinar of 2024. Not the last weekly webinar ever, just the last one for this year. We'll take a little break for the holiday season and encourage everyone to spend time with those people you love and care about. And then we'll return on Thursday, January 9th. We've already got that date scheduled for the webinar with a great presenter. I think all our presenters are great. And we will send information about that in the My Alliance newsletter, so stay tuned for that. Housekeeping notes, please make sure you're all muted for today so that we can all hear our speaker well. And if you need closed captioning, use the Show Captions button at the bottom of your screen. We are recording, and this recording will be available later today for future watching and sharing. And if you have questions or comments during the program today, feel free to use the chat and we will respond to those. For this last weekly webinar, again, of 2024, I am happy to welcome Dr. Amanda Szabo-Reed, who is an Associate Research Professor in the Division of Physical Activity and Weight Management in Internal Medicine. She's worked on several projects at the KU Alzheimer's Disease Research Center and is a co-primary investigator for our topic today, the COMET study. And her primary research investigates how lifestyle behavioral adherence, particularly to diet and exercise, influences cognitive health to improve brain health and quality of life, which I know we're all especially interested in. And in today's presentation, our speaker will discuss the COMET study. So, Dr. Szabo-Reed, I will turn it over to you. Thank you so much for wrapping up the year with us, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Great. Can everybody, hopefully you guys can see my screen.
Yeah.
All right. Now, thank you so much for having me today. And I'm really excited to tell you a little bit about the COMET study. And some of you may have participated in this study or, might have seen it come across your inbox as we're looking for participants. And so I just wanted to take the opportunity to kind of set, we all want to make healthy resolutions for the new year. And so the COMET study is a great way to do those. Let's see. All right. So we know there are a lot of benefits to exercise. For instance, prevention of overall disease and longevity. Specifically in older adults, we see lots of health benefits, including improved sleep. It also helps us maintain a healthy weight, reduce our stress, improved quality of life. And when it comes to reducing your chance of getting disease, it's associated with a reduction in type 2 diabetes risk, cardiovascular disease, fall prevention, joint and back pain reduction, as well as prevention of cancer. And when we think of doing physical activity, we always want to do, what we're supposed to do, but some is good and more is always better. So we get a lot of individuals who might seek physical activity counseling from our group that, are like, well, I can't do a ton, but just always remind yourself that if you are going to make a healthy resolution for the new year, that doing some is great. And then it's never too late to get started, and every minute counts. So I think those are important things to think about when you're making your healthy goals for the new year. And also along with that is that, a lot of us are here because we want to have better health for our brain, and exercise is one way we can do that. Participation in physical activity programs have been associated with reduction of Alzheimer's disease and related dementias risk, as well as a maintenance of cognitive function in those who aren't at risk, and a preservation of our brain health and both structure and function. So the current public health recommendations for physical activity are 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity. And you say, well, what does that mean? So moderate to vigorous physical activity is just exercise or any activity that would cause you to breathe heavy. And we would want you, and the public health recommendations suggest that you should do 150 minutes of that type of activity each week. Now, it definitely does not have to be all at once. You can certainly divide it up over the course of a week. So that would be, 30 minutes, 5 times a week, for example. The other part of the recommendation is for resistance training or weight training. And the recommendations suggest that you do resistance training at least 2 times a week. Now, this could be using anything from bands to weights, or you could use soup cans, things that you have around the house to get in your resistance training. Those are all great ways to do this type of activity, and we want you to do that at least 2 times a week. The recommendations also suggest you work on your balance and your stretching and flexibility. And those can usually be done for a few minutes each day. So from previous research, for example, the trial of exercise, aging, and memory, or the TEAMS study, which was conducted here at the University of Kansas Medical Center, we enrolled older adults into a 26-week-long exercise intervention where we prescribed individuals to either do a stretching group, about 50% of the health recommendations, so that would have been 75 minutes per week of aerobic activity, 100% of the recommendations, so 150 minutes a week of exercise, or 150%, which would be 225 minutes per week. And what we've found is that over the course of the intervention, if you did any type of activity, we saw an increase in your VO2 max, which is a cardiovascular indicator of exercise or health. And a lot of times we associate this with good outcomes. And we also saw that this change in VO2 peak or cardiorespiratory fitness was associated with also increases or improvements in attention and spatial processing, so 2 of our cognitive tasks. So essentially what this says is doing any amount of exercise between 75 and 225 minutes a week, you're going to see benefits for both cardiovascular outcomes and for cognitive outcomes. Another study in 155 65 to 75-year-old Canadian women who were of healthy cognitive, they were healthy, saw that resistance training wanted to look and see if resistance training could potentially impact cognitive function. And so they prescribed these individuals 1 time a week or 2 times a week of resistance training in comparison to a stretching and balance group. And what they found was no matter how many times of resistance training they did a week, they saw improvements in their cognitive function in comparison to the balance and toning group. And so one type of task that they looked at is the Stroop task. So if anyone's done any of our cognitive assessments, they might have been asked to do this, where you might see the word green presented and have to read the word green and respond to that, or you might see the word green written in red, but still be asked to say what color it is, not read the word. And for that, it requires a little bit more cognitive processing. It often slows our response. And so, for example, a task like that, we might see that individuals who were engaging in resistance training had a faster response time than those who were not. We've also seen that weights can help those who are experiencing cognitive changes. So another study enrolled 65 participants over the age of 65 years old, and these individuals were kind of in the early stages of memory change. And they saw that these individuals who did resistance training 3 times a week for 16 weeks, as well as some stretching, saw better or improved reasoning and problem solving and thinking speed on some of their cognitive assessments, suggesting that, again, resistance training might be important for improving and maintaining cognitive health as we age. However, there hasn't really been a ton of studies really exploring that full public health recommendation of exercise. So I mentioned at the beginning of my study that, or at the beginning of my talk, that the public health recommendations for physical activity for older adults is 150 minutes a week of aerobic exercise, 2 times a week of resistance training, and then some stretching and balancing activities. But no one's really tested that to see what prescription, if that prescription that they recommend is most beneficial to promote brain health. And then we also really don't know the biological mechanisms that are associated with each type of exercise. So, what does aerobic exercise add uniquely to the brain that resistance training may or may not? So we don't really know the difference in how those contribute to biological changes. And then we also don't know which type of exercise or combinations of exercise might meaningfully enhance the quality of life and physical activity. Usually when someone just tells you to exercise, like your doctor, for example, they just tell you to go out and walk. But it might be beneficial and have additional quality of life enhancement if you added some resistance training to your weekly exercise routine, and we don't fully understand that yet. So that's why myself and Eric Bedoni, my other co-PI, we proposed the combined exercise trial, or the COMET study. And for this study, we are enrolling 280 older adults between the ages of 65 and 80. And we want healthy individuals who are not experiencing any cognitive change to enroll in the study. Another requirement is that we ask that these individuals are able to walk with no pain or an assistive device, and then are currently inactive. And for this study, we randomize individuals or place you into 4 different groups. One is an active group where you do something we call core infusion. So you're doing some stretching, some balance activities, and some light resistance training. Then we have a resistance training group that trains with a trainer 2 times a week to do on a series of resistance training. And then they also do some of those core infusion activities. And then we have a 150-minute an aerobic only group, which does the 150 minutes of aerobic activity. And then if there's time left over in their week, they will do some of those core infusion activities as well. And then we have the combined group, which gets to do the full public health recommendation. So 150 minutes of aerobic activity, plus the 2 resistance training sessions, and then a little bit of core infusion. So we try to get everything into that 4th group. Now, for this study, individuals are screened at baseline, so that we would ask you to complete some physical and medical health history questionnaires. We also would do a brief screening phone call with one of our coordinators, and then we also assess to make sure that you're underactive or not doing any physical activity right now. And then after you consent to do the study, we would sign you up for some cognitive tests, a blood draw, a fitness assessment, and an MRI. And once you complete all of the baseline testing, we would then randomize you to one of those 4 activity groups. So that's the core infusion group. So that does the stretching, the balance activities, as well as some of that resistance training. The weight training group, which does that 2 times a week, and then some of those core and fusion activities. And then the endurance exercise group, which does 150 minutes of some sort of endurance or aerobic activity a week, along with some of the core and fusion activities. And then the combined group, which gets to do a little bit of everything. So the endurance activities, as well as the weight training and the core and fusion. And you would do that 4 to 5 times a week, trying to get to those public health guidelines. And those activities are all done we like to partner with local YMCAs, or we have a few other independent gyms that we're working with to help you get that activity in. At 26 weeks, or halfway through the program, we then bring you back into the lab and have you do some of those cognitive assessments and some paper and penciled questionnaires. And then at 52 weeks, or the 1 year mark, we have you repeat all of those baseline assessments. So that's the cognitive tests, the paper and pencil assessments, the blood draw, the exercise assessment, and the MRI. So we do ask you to do quite a few things for this study, but we get a lot of information from it, and the general public gets a lot of information from it. So a little bit more about those physical activity sessions. So what do we ask you to do during those? So like I said, we ask you to exercise at the local YMCA, or we have, like I said, a few other gyms that we partner with. And to do that, we do provide you with a gym membership. So we do cover the cost of that. And then we provide you with a trainer to meet with up to 3 times a week to do those physical activity sessions. And this trainer is there to provide you support, feedback, accountability. They instruct you on the different types of activities that we want you to do for the intervention. And they're there to, kind of be your guidance throughout the whole program. And then we also provide you with a Fitbit or some other type of activity monitor or watch that will help us monitor your physical activity. And this allows us to not only provide information back to your trainer about what you've been doing through the intervention, but it also allows us to provide feedback to you. So part of what we provide you is a weekly email of, this is how much activity we collected from your watch last week. Did it meet our goal that we wanted you to meet? If not, we can work with your trainer to get you up to our goal for the intervention. So we use all of these tools to help get you physically active and hopefully keep you active for the long run. So then you ask, how do I get involved? So to date, we have randomized about 245 individuals. So we are still looking for a few more so that we can hit our goal of 280 individuals. So if you would like to participate in this study, you can call that number there, 913-588-0555, and select option 1. Or you can share that number with a friend or a family member. You can also, take your phone and scan that QR code there, and that will also get you to our website where you can enter some information and sign up that way. So all of these ways will help to get you enrolled, and feel free to share this information with friends or family members as you go throughout the holidays, especially if you've already participated or if you participated in one of our other studies. We would love to have you. And so with that, I'm going to provide you with a little bit of my disclosure. So I'm part of internal medicine within the Division of Physical Activity and Weight Management, and the KU ADRC. And so I want to thank all of these individuals for participating in this study and all of the other work I get to do. And then, of course, my funding source. Now I'll go back here in case you didn't get to see that information. So now I will happily open it for questions. I see there's a few in the chat.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Zabo-Reid. This study is always one that people are super engaged in, always excited to know exactly how many minutes do they need to do the the exercising. So thank you for giving us a solid number. And there's a question in the chat from David about MRIs. Maybe you can start with that one.
Yeah. So with MRIs, so right now we cannot participate with the MRI without the MRI, but if you're interested in this study, I would still recommend calling and expressing interest. We may be able to change that criteria down the line. But at this moment, we would want you to qualify for the MRI, but I would still call and check. What other gyms are available? No convenient YMCA near me. So I'm not sure where you are, Linda. But I know we have, we're working with the Liberty Community Center. They are one of other locations. Otherwise, if you just call and talk to our recruitment team, you may not, oh, you're in Independence. Yeah, if you call and talk to the recruitment team, they can definitely tell you what the closest location is. And then they can help you make that judgment as to whether or not this would be a good fit for you. Let's see, if you are in the stretching group, could you still do your walking with your dog weekly? Yes, so walking your dog is great activity, and yeah, we definitely don't want your dog's health to suffer. If you qualified to participate in this study, we would want you to continue to do anything you would have normally done. We can't by any means tell you to stop being active or doing an activity, because if you qualified to participate, that meant you were underactive to begin with. So we'd still want you to walk your dog if that's what you're doing.
I feel like all the dogs of the world are happy about that.
Yes,
They'll
we
still get
definitely
their
don't
walks.
want you to stop walking your dog.
Very good. Any other questions? Yes.
Is this study only for those who do not exercise now? Yes, at this time we are only taking individuals who are not active at this time. However, I think if you're interested in doing any sort of study, I know sometimes they are looking for individuals who are active. So you can still maybe not enroll in this study, but there might be other studies that you might qualify to participate in. Does not active mean you're not walking right now? So we define not active as kind of a variety of different things. So the easiest way for us to find out if you're too active for this study is to call. Typically we're looking for you to not be doing 150 minutes of aerobic activity, but that, isn't kind of the hard line. So the best way for us to determine is if you're too active is for you to call and talk to my study team. And is this not available? Yeah. So unfortunately, our cutoff right now, even if you have no cognitive decline, is 65 to 80 years old. We have not decided to open it to older individuals. So unfortunately, if you are 82, you do not qualify. I'm sorry. But still, there might be other opportunities. So if you're not in the KU ADRC's database, it's always a good idea to still call and get yourself in there. That way, if a study for up to 85 or 90 comes about, they can call you and get you enrolled.
Great.
When will this start? Oh, so this study is actively recruiting. So if you are interested in participating, give us a call and they'll get you started with the study process and going through the criteria to see if you can get enrolled. So we start individuals as soon as they are done with completing all of the baseline assessments. So we try not to wait too long. And what about age 62? Yeah, so this study, again, it starts at age 65. So if you're not quite 65, I'm sure there will be things that come along. I am always working on applying for additional funding to fund new studies, so that when you do become 65, or sometimes I do start the age range earlier, you can sign up for those studies. So.
Great questions, everybody. Thank you so much. And if you are interested and you meet those criteria, make sure you get the link. I know we've got the QR code and the link on the slide here. We did create a special link for this webinar,
Oh,
just
great.
to see if, we're tracking how many people watch a webinar and then are interested in that particular study. So you're welcome to use the QR code or the link on the slide, but if you can use the link that's in the chat, and I'll copy it one more time, then that helps us to know that the webinar is reaching people and their interest. So all of the statisticians would thank you for that, if you would do that. So I'm going to put that here again. We've got another question about planned vacations.
Yeah, so if you do plan to go on a vacation, just go ahead and you would let my study team know that. And we ask that you're not gone for more than 2 consecutive weeks at a time and more than 4 weeks over the course of the intervention. The nice thing about our partnership with the YMCA is that if you do go on vacation to somewhere where there is a YMCA, your membership would work there. And so you can still exercise at that YMCA. So you may not be with your personal trainer, but you would be still able to exercise. And we also let people to exercise, outside or, however you would like to. Are people with genetic risk? Sure, you can be of genetic risk. We actually do not do any genetic testing for this study. So that would not exclude you from participating or, change your participation in the study.
All right, everyone. If you have more questions, we've got a couple more minutes, so feel free to unmute yourselves or continue to use the chat if you like. Thank you, Dr. Zabel-Reid, for
Of
being with us and for doing this great work that is going to lead to improved health in so many different directions. We can tell increased capacity for reasoning and thinking, and overall brain health are always our goals here at the ADRC. Oh, there's a couple more comments in the chat. If you wouldn't mind checking those out.
Yeah. Fortunate for me, yes, you were too active. Oh, I'm sorry. Does this study track mitochondrial development? We are not looking at that per se at this time, but it's not to say that we couldn't use this data set to look at any of those things. Because we do have an investigator who is interested in that kind of thing on the study team. Are the exercises you consider adding to my regimen aerobic or resistance? I mean, for that kind of prescription, I think all exercise is important, and trying to get to those public health recommendations, is always important. And especially if you're interested in mitochondrial development, making sure that you have some resistance training is always good. If you're only doing aerobic, it's always good to kind of diversify your aerobic or your exercise plan. So having both types, I think, is always better. Do we need males or females? We need both. Obviously, typically with many of our research studies, we do lack male participation. So we're always looking for more males, but at this time, the study is open to both. Can people live in the same household and participate? Yes, we do take individuals who live in the same household for this study. And how would you classify Pilates? Pilates is kind of a stretching and balance activity. Typically, when we're screening for individuals who do or do not participate, we usually look for aerobic activity. So if you're not doing any structured walking activity or running or biking on a regular basis, you may still qualify for this study. So it's always a good idea to call and talk to our study team, and they can help determine that.
All right, very good. Thank you, everyone, for your interest and your time today. We are coming up on just one more minute left, so I will wish everybody a great rest of December, a nice holiday season. We've had 47 of these webinars in 2024. And it's been a real joy to have you here, whether you've come to one or two, or like me, I think I've been at almost all 47. Oh, I see a question from David. Can we have a class sometime with a KU physical therapist to teach some exercise classes? You know, David, I am scheduling for 2025, so I will add that to the list.
Yes.
And okay, yes. So we will find some.
It's a great recommendation. We can
That is
get
a
some.
great idea. That could even be a very interactive sort of thing, right? We
Yes,
could
we
also
can.
do our reps. So yes, David, I will copy that down to my list for 2025. Um, and we'll see. Maybe we'll even try to get that before winter is over, so we can be inside and do our exercises and combat, snow or something. So yes, I will put that on the list. Thank you, everybody. We are just really happy to have you as part of our My Alliance community. We have more than 2,600 of you. We've had 2,600 people attend a weekly webinar in 2024. It's not 2,600 individual people, but 2,600 instances of attendance. And we've increased our numbers, and we feel like that must mean we're doing something good in the world. And so we're happy to do that. Thank you so much. We'll send one more My Alliance newsletter on this coming Monday, and then we'll give you a break. And we'll be back at the first of the year with more great topics. And I hope that we can keep Dr. Zabel Reed on our list. I'm sure she'll say yes, to return and tell us more about the COMET study and any of the other studies that she's working on. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great time the rest of the month, and we'll see you next year. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.